Hi, I'm James Green with ActualTech Media. I'm here today at Scale Computing, and I'm standing here with Craig Theriac, who's the Director of Product Management at Scale. And we're going to talk about what's new here. So, Craig, thanks for joining me.
No, thanks for coming out. Appreciate you guys stopping out.
So, we were just talking about what you guys have just released that is pretty exciting to me. Tell me about what are you doing that you haven't been doing before in terms of deployment?
Yeah, actually there are a number of things, but probably the most prominent is that we've just introduced a single node system, which sounds by itself to be fairly innocuous, but actually a lot of really cool things you can do with that.
Yeah, so historically, especially for availability and redundancy's sake, to use the hyperconverged model, we would have had to have at least a couple of nodes just to make sure that all the data was safe and everything like that. You're able at this point to accomplish that in just one.
Yeah. So, as you said, I mean, historically, you think of hyperconvergence, you think of a 3-node system, whether that's 2 nodes and something out there for a quorum, in kind of a 2 physical node environment. What we've done is actually done a single node system. So what's different about that is there's no high availability there, but there are use cases where high availability isn't that important, but there are other things about hyperconvergence in general that people want, the ease of use, the kind of standardization across different systems, that sort of thing. So,
so what sorts of situations would you deploy that in that you might have had a harder time accessing with many nodes?
Yeah, so, well, probably the first and most prominent is for our target customer, kind of small to mid-sized customers, and trending toward the mid, I would say. The most interesting is they would buy a 3 or 4 node system, then they would buy a single node appliance that would act as a backup target, backup and DR. So we've always had, or at least in the last 3 years now, I guess, we've had a replication, snapshots of replication between clusters. So now you can make use of that functionality to replicate to a single node where, you know, in the case of a disaster, you might have to run critical workloads there, but really it's just to get your data off.
Sure.
And so it's more of a backup use case. And then, of course, you can use the snapshots on the system itself to recover files and that sort of thing. So those two features combined make a really powerful, let's replace everything, both your primary and backup and DR strategy with a single node system.
Okay. What about in like a branch office sort of setting? I know a lot of development has gone on across the hyperconvergence landscape in general to try and get that to be a more economically viable option. Yeah. And I think one node sounds like that would go a long ways towards making that possible.
Yeah, it is. There's been a lot of demand for that specific use case. So again, you'd have maybe a single cluster at your primary site and then remote clusters that could be like nodes, could be 3, 4 nodes, could be just a single node out at the distributed enterprise level at all these different remote sites. Again, kind of same single point of interface in terms of monitoring all of these different systems, so you get a lot of advantages to that. But again, at some of these remote sites, this is replacing a single Windows box that's been sitting in the corner forever. They want that ease of use, but they don't necessarily need the high availability. One thing that I think it's unique to our development of a single node system is that we've never required SSD in a system. Of course, we can make use of it. We introduced tiering last year, which I believe we spoke about last time you were out. But in a single node system where you may not have high IOPS requirements, you want to just get the lowest cost possible solution out there that has, redundancy within the node itself, and then that can replicate back to a primary site. Perfect use case. Okay,
cool. That sounds great. Well, for anybody who's watching that wants to learn more about that specifically, or just about Scale in general, what should they do?
We can do a number of things. Go to scalecomputing.com. You can always find us there. There are a number of videos specific to these features out on YouTube. Feel free to check that out or give us a call at, I believe it's 877-SCALE-59 here in the US.
Great. Thanks, Craig.
Thank you.